Hello, Gr10s, and welcome to your statistics. Under statistics, we're going to be studying things we call data, and I've written a short definition there, really simple, really, of what statistics is or what you previously knew as data handling. Statistics is the study of data or data, right? And data is actually a plural form of the word data. So the correct way of reading things would be data are and not data is. So this would be incorrect. This one. Anyways, let's continue reading. Data refers, since it's plural, to pieces of information that have been observed, recorded, or observed and recorded from an experiment or a survey. So in the most simplest sense, data means information, some kind of information. That's data. All right. Now, under data, we've got two types of data that we usually discuss, which is qualitative versus quantitative. Now, quantitative, I'll say versus qualitative data. Right, if you check these words, quantitative comes from the word quantity, which would mean size, or you can think of it as how much of something. That's what we'll be talking about here. And then, whereas if you look on the other side of qualitative, this qualitative comes from the word quality, which means we are now worried more about some kind of descriptive data, or we want to describe some object or some particular piece of information that we have. It's not really all about numbers. In mathematics, we say quantitative data are data that can be written as numbers. So can be written as numbers. For example, the number of people, the number of learners in your class. This can easily be written as 30 or something like that, right? Or I can say, what is your height? And well, you can tell me, well, I am 1,37 meters, not centimeters, high. So those are the kind of examples of what we mean by quantitative data. We want to know how much of something we actually have. And this quantitative data can either be discrete or continuous, which I'll discuss very soon after this. Let's look at qualitative data on the other side. Qualitative data cannot be written as numbers. And then there are two common types of qualitative data that we have. We've got what we call categorical and anecdotal. Right. We're not going to spend much time focusing on qualitative data. However, most of our energy and focus in exams, especially in grade 10, going up, we're going to be focusing too much on the quantitative side of things. But anyways, let's go through this and just to highlight what it is we're talking about when we say qualitative data. Let's give an example. The color of your phone, for example. So someone may tell me, my phone is black, and some may say, oh, mine is red. Someone may tell you mine is gold. Someone may say mine is blue. Now, you notice that we cannot write this as a number, right? We can't write black as a number. So this kind of data is called qualitative because it's kind of describing or giving us a quality of a particular object, in which case the object we're discussing here, or the object in this example, would be the phone, or the piece of information we're worried much about or we're studying is the phone. And what this kind of data tells us is the quality of that particular um, object, and the quality in this case is the color. I don't know if that makes sense. So that's about it in terms of qualitative data. And this, by the way, what I've written here is an example of what we call categorical data. It's categorical data because it gives us some kind of group or category. Now we can think of it as a group of black phones or a category of gold phones. If I were to tell you, go and pick a gold phone and bring it here, and let's say we pretend there's a room full of different kinds of phones there. What you would go to is, yes, you want a phone. That's the first category, right? You want a phone, you want radios or anything else. Second category is you look for the color. So now I'm trying to develop the idea of whether or not you understand what categorical data is all about. And the other piece here of your qualitative data that's missing is anecdotal. This is all about opinions. So we're not going to waste too much time on that one. Anecdotal data is all about people's opinions. People's opinions, how they feel about things. If I ask you, how do you, after watching a movie, for example, how do you feel about that movie? You can tell me, well, it was nice, it was not funny, it was great, it was this and that. So the data that kind of collects information about what people feel about certain things or people's opinions, how people feel about stuff. Okay, this is qualifies to be your anecdotal data or data that you can collect from an interview or something, questioning someone's view on something. All right, so that's it. Qualitative data. There's only two types there that are most commonly studied, which is categorical. We've covered that, which gives you a certain category. Here we've spoken about a number of categories here, like phone, radios, TVs. There are different kinds of TVs, different kinds of radios and whatnot. So, but the word radio there gives you a category to look for if I were to ask you to go and check that. Or color, for example, black, blue, gold, as we have given here, you know what category it is you're looking for. Anyways, let's come this side. This is just an example of this so that hopefully you can understand what it is I want to focus on. Now let's come back to the quantitative side, and hopefully I can quickly cover the discrete and continuous bit in the next slide. All right, so let's take a look at what quantitative data is one more time. We said quantitative data is data that can be written as numbers. Now this is easy to understand. We've done that already, and we say this can be either discrete or continuous. Now, what exactly does the word discrete mean to you? I want you to think of the word discrete as distinct or separate or an individual piece of data. So discrete data is simply data that can be represented as integers. That's your underlined word, that's your keyword. Data that you can just show as an integer. For example, the number of people. You can count this number of people, and we can always expect to get an integer value like 7 or 10 or 12. We can't, however, expect to get an answer like 3,5 people. That would be absurd. That would be ridiculous. So we don't expect any commas here. That's why we specifically say integers. So discrete data that you can represent as an integer. That's it. And then what is continuous data? Well, as the word says, they're continuous. We don't jump on the number line. If I were to draw a number line for discrete data, that means we experience some kind of jump. We don't expect to, if this is 0 and this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, under discrete data, we don't expect to have anything in between here. We only focus on the integers. I gave a good example of saying count how many people there are in your village, or count how many learners there are in your class. We would not expect you to give us an answer or a number between 0 and 1 or a number between 1 and 2. We only focus on those integers. So it's like we're jumping from 1 number to the other, but yet we know that there are numbers right between here, like 0,1 or 1,1, 1,2, whatever. So that's discrete data for you. Let's come to continuous. So continuous data, however, uses the entire number line. It doesn't matter it's integers or whatnot. Everything on the number line has a role to play. So even these 0,1, 0,5 now can actually represent some kind of information. What kind of data is this? Let's give an example. Let's take a look at height, for example, someone's height. Now we can definitely have a height like 1,25. We can definitely have temperature like 29,3. We can definitely have speed like 101,25 or whatever it is that we can have, kilometers per hour or meters per second, whatever it is that we're discussing there. So these kind of data that can be represented as any real number are called continuous data. So that's it, guys, on the introduction of what data is all about. So let me just remove that so that we all right, let's go back to this slide. Now in the next video we are going to talk about more divisions or subdivisions of what data is all about. Our next thing to discuss is what we call grouped or ungrouped and ungrouped data. So specifically now, like I said, we're going to be focusing, I'll take you back again. We're going to be focusing a lot more on the quantitative data. So we'll be assuming now we're focusing a lot more on the quantitative data, for example. And then now we want to divide that further into groups that we call grouped data and ungrouped data. We'll discuss that in the next video. Otherwise, see you in the next one.